Let's go ahead and compare the Moto G Play 2024 with the Google Pixel 9. The Moto G Play 2024 is the cheapest device you could possibly get now in 2024, and it's going against the Pixel 9, which is the most important flagship Android out there. Very powerful, very expensive. Pixel 9 is $800. Moto G Play is pretty much free everywhere, and full price if you get it is only $50. So we're comparing the cheapest with the most base expensive flagship out there from Google. So let's go ahead and just compare these. Now, the first thing I notice is that the Moto G Play is LTE only, not 5G. Doesn't make a big difference, but let's go ahead and move on. Now, the Moto G Play is a lighter device, but it is also a bigger device overall. Build quality is going to be, kind of interesting because it's plastic, but it doesn't feel plastic. And I really like the color on the back, like a steel blue color, versus the really good materials in the Pixel 9, glass and aluminum frame. But if you slap a case on these devices like you should to protect your device, it's not going to make a big difference. But the overall lighter weight device is the Moto G Play. Now, you only have a nano SIM in the Motorola, while you get eSIM also in the Pixel 9. It depends on your preference, but I like to have that eSIM technology in the phone. Helps me have multiple carriers, multiple SIM cards, and swap them in and out as necessary, especially when you travel. So that's kind of a bummer on the Motorola. Water repellent only design on the Motorola versus IP68 on the Pixel 9. For the displays, you have an overall bigger display, 6.5 inches on the Motorola versus the 6.3 inch on the Pixel 9. They're kind of similar, but the Pixel 9 is more compact in general. So that might be a big difference to you. And Androids in general are just big devices, so both of these are going to be under that 6.6, 6.7 inch normal that is seen on Android phones. Refresh rate, it's nice to see 90 hertz on the G Play, while the Pixel 9 has that 120 hertz. And the resolution 720 on the Motorola versus 1080 on the Pixel 9. Pixel 9 also has the always on display. So not too big of a disappointment on the Moto G Play, but let's remember that price point: free versus $800 plus tax. Moving on, Motorola on the software front. Android 13, you're not going to get any updates. Pixel 9, Android 14 with 7 years of updates. Very important feature, especially if you want to keep your phone for a long time and try out new things. A lot of good bang for your buck on the software front. But actually, both of these phones will feel similar because Motorola uses a stock version very, very similar to the Pixel line of pure Google software. So they're going to feel very, very similar. Chipset, you have a lower range Qualcomm Snapdragon on the Motorola, while you get the Tensor G4 on the Pixel 9, which is geared towards AI, so it's very, very powerful. Now going for the storage, now 64 gigs on the Moto G Play versus 128 on the Pixel 9, so you got double the storage. But the Moto G Play has that micro SD card slot, that very reliable, trusty feature of pretty much every budget Android phone, which the Pixel 9 does not have. And when it comes to RAM, you got 4 gigs on the Moto G Play, while you get 12 gigs on the Pixel 9. So two different stories here. 4 gigs of RAM seems very low, but I think the Motorola Moto G Play has enough smoothness to it with that stock software on there. It helps out squeezing every bit of power from that 4 gigs of RAM. While on the other hand, the Pixel 9 pushes from 8 gigs of the standard on the Pixels to now having 12 gigs. It's almost like having a Pro level of RAM on the base level Pixels. So two different worlds right here. This is where you really get why the price point it is what it is. But I'm very impressed with how the Moto G Play handles itself with the lower chipset and the lower amount of RAM. But it's very, very nice, especially for the price on everyday task. The Pixel 9 is not going to push that 12 gigs of RAM or that processor too much. Moving on to the cameras, we have a single 50 megapixel shooter on the Motorola. The Pixel 9 has a 50 megapixel shooter and a 48 megapixel ultra wide, 1080p on the Play, 4K on the Pixel 9, selfie camera, 8 megapixel 1080 on the Motorola, Pixel 9 10.5 megapixel 4K on the selfie camera front. And in general, the Moto G Play is just serviceable only when you have a lot of daylight. You're gonna get some decent pictures. Video is gonna be very, very choppy. Pixel 9, this is one of the standout features, is the quality of pictures and video. It is top notch, the best of the best in the Android world. So that's probably the one big standout that I always remember on the Pixel 9. You're always gonna have a reliable camera. Moto G Play does have that headphone jack though, which the Pixel 9 doesn't. That comes out in handy when you're driving around, you want to connect your music or a microphone or whatever you want to do. It's there, although it's on the top of the device, which seems kind of weird. I like having it on the bottom. Bluetooth 5.1 Motorola, 5.3 on the Pixel 9. There is no NFC. That's a big one on the Moto G Play. But you do get it obviously on the Pixel 9. So this is one of those things that makes the Moto G Play. There's no 4G, or I'm sorry, there's no 5G. There's no NFC, and there's no eSIM. Those are the three things that are kind of creeping up to that why it is a free device. But nonetheless, let's keep going. Moto G Play has that side fingerprint reader. Pixel 9 has the under the display ultrasonic fingerprint reader. Just a matter of preference, but the fingerprint reader to unlock your device on the Motorola is perfectly fine. Pixel 9 is just another better, cooler option for you. But for some reason, some people prefer to have that side-mounted fingerprint reader, which you could unlock it by taking it out of your pocket and it's already unlocked. So there's a little bit of preference right there. And moving on to battery, and it's always nice to see Android phones have a big battery. That's the standard now. That's the one thing that really separates it. It's always reliable that an Android phone has big batteries, and both of these do not disappoint. 5,000 milliamp on the G Play, but the Pixel 9 has a little bit lower, 4,700 milliamps. So the Moto G Play wins hands down. And you got 15-watt wired charging, which is not too bad considering that the $800 Pixel 9 only has 27-watt wired. And it also has wireless, 15-watt with the Pixel stand, 12-watt wireless with the Qi charger, and reverse wireless charging. It's not a big deal, but I think the overall winner here is going to be the Moto G Play, just because of the fact it has a gigantic battery and you're not going to charge it that often, and it's a free device. Pixel 9 kind of disappointed. It has a smaller battery, but this phone is going to use up a lot more battery just because of the fact that you're going to be using more features on the device. Higher resolution screen, the powerful processor. You're going to be taking a lot of pictures and videos, and you have reverse wireless. There's all this stuff going on. So I think it's safe to say you'll be fine with both of these, but the Moto G Play will last probably hand over fist over the Pixel 9 in battery life. So we just compared the cheapest phone out there with the newest flagship Android phone out there. And let me just go ahead and tell you that the better deal here is going to be the Moto G Play, because it's free. And the most you'll ever pay for this device is $50 if you pay for it outright. And these devices are very similar because of that software. They're going to feel stock Android to the core on both of these right out the box. They're not going to feel any really difference. But when you start talking about hardware, that's where everything is, night and day. So let me just tell you the things about the Moto G Play that I do like. It has a big old battery. It has that side fingerprint reader, very fast. It has a headphone jack. It has the micro SD card slot. Obviously, it has a stock version of Android. 90 hertz refresh rate. It has a not too big 6.5-inch display. And it also is more lightweight than the Pixel 9, but it also is a little bit overall bigger. But weight-wise, very, very nice. Let me tell you what I like about the Pixel 9. And it's going to be the camera. It's always going to come down to the camera with the Pixel lineup. It's the best you could do on an Android phone. Crisp pictures, crisp videos, doesn't matter the lighting, doesn't matter the situation, it will always look nice. The other thing I like about the Pixel 9 is going to be the 7 years of updates this phone will have. So you can keep this phone for a very long time, and it's going to have the newest features. And also, it's going to hold a little bit more value when you try to sell it or a trade-in. So these phones are notorious for giving you great trade-ins. The other things I like about the Pixel 9, it has 12 gigs of RAM. It's the first regular Pixel to have 12 gigs of RAM. So it's like basically the Pixel turned into the Pixel Pro right off the bat with that extra amount of RAM. Other than that, I don't see anything of an upgrade compared to the prior Pixel phones before. And yeah, it is. Those are the things that were kind of improved that I really like. The camera's always been good, but also you want to throw in the more powerful Tensor G4 processor. It's good, but for everyday tasks, these compare very, very well. So now let's talk about the things that I don't like about each of the devices. So the Moto G Play, it's stuck on Android 13. You're not going to get any updates. It's at 64 gigs of storage. That's pretty low compared to other free devices. This doesn't have eSIM technology. That's a big no-no. I like to have that now on my phones if I travel or if I have two different phone numbers. I use Google Voice, so I want to have a regular phone number, and I also have, I want to have different data SIM cards in and out. It's just easier to have eSIM. And then this doesn't have 5G, which is weird, but it's not a big difference speed-wise between 4G and 5G, but it's just weird that they left it out. But I guess they have to cut corners somewhere. And now let's talk about the things I don't like about the Pixel 9. And obviously the big one's going to be price. I do not like that $800 price. It's iPhone territory, but you're not getting any of the Apple goody software exclusives. I like the 7 years of updates. That's a good one. 12 gigs of RAM. That's awesome. But yeah, other than that, the price, the 12 gigs RAM is nice, but you're not going to push it, really. This phone is not going to be a gaming device either. So it's kind of a moot point right there. 12 gigs of RAM is the only new thing, really, that the Pixel 9 brings over the Pixel 8. So that's kind of like, yeah, it's making the Moto G look like the better deal of the two, just because of the fact that one's free and one's $800, and it has some features that the Pixel 9 does not have. So that's been my comparison of the better overall deal, the Moto G Play 2024 with the flagship expensive Pixel 9.